Good morning, Australia, and welcome to GMA on this Monday morning post-Logies. My two very special guests as lead guests this morning are Phillip Quast and Raelee Hill. Wonderful to have them here.
Thank you very much.
A little competition to begin with. One of the two stars you see here arrived in Melbourne, or they both arrived late last night in Melbourne. One went immediately to bed to prepare for their appearance this morning on GMA. The other, went to the Logies and partied till about 3 o'clock this morning.
It was just a wee drink.
Oh,
a
I've
little
heard
one.
that before. What time did you finish? What time did you get to bed?
I was in bed at 4.
Really? Lots of chums and things there.
Yeah. It's like a great big fat reunion. It's great.
Now, the guys here, they had their first preview yesterday at the Capitol Theatre in Sydney of Pan, and I'm told the result was just terrific.
Yes, it was. We were
you
very
happy?
Yes.
More than happy, yeah.
I mean, it's such a technical show. Things are happening all over the joint, aren't they?
And last night was the first night we managed to get through without it stopping, actually, because it is technical.
Yeah.
You know, and,
enjoyable?
Created a monster.
Yes, very much so.
Very enjoyable.
You've done so many theatre shows, Phillip. Where would you rate it in terms, before yesterday's performance, in terms of, is this going to work? What sort of a day is it going to be? And why am I here?
Which one first? Well, it's an unknown quantity because it's not a musical, it's not a pantomime, sometimes it's vaudeville, so it falls in all those different, and it changes within it. Yeah. And so we're dealing with something completely new. So, and to have that sort of sense, and there are children in there, and there's obviously going to be two shows sometimes because an evening show will be different to a matinee show with kids. And so last night was the first night we were hearing that laughter coming. And
it was there?
And it was there, yeah.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. And children laughing at lines like when Pan calls Hook Sir Sausage.
Oh, they loved
Kids
it.
just finding it so funny.
Right, Sir Sausage,
great.
that works, does it?
Yes, and you wouldn't...
Codfish, Captain Codfish.
You remember that line?
I certainly will. We have quite a few codfishes on the programme this morning. Apart from these two wonderful people, Angela Bishop is going to report on that night of nights, last night at the Logies. Lorraine Bailey, it'll be great to see Lorraine again. She's doing something special, David Williamson play. Leah McLeod from House of Hit, she's going to be here. That's Molly on her right. Dorinda Hafner, beautiful lady that she is, she's going to cook something very special for us. And Karen Morgold is going to look to the stars, as she does every Monday morning. Musically speaking, Australia's own Dr. John Foreman. John is sort of the Peter Pan of Good Morning Australia, aren't you, John?
Well, I hope so. And I have to say, your wife was a lovely date last night at the Logies.
Yes, about that?
Yes.
My music director took my wife...
Controversy.
Yes, to the Logie. I couldn't make it, unfortunately, because I had to get up at 4:30 this morning and also drive Raelee in. So it was quite... But you had a wonderful time, did you?
It was a great time,
What was the highlight for you?
Oh, I think the highlight was probably arriving with Paddy and Stan Zemanek and his wife in the car. It was quite a car ride.
Had you met Stan before?
Only, across the floor at the show here. Yes.
Isn't he's quite different, isn't he?
He is, yes, very
He's a
much
charming
so.
man,
Yes, and he didn't sort of argue with us or anything like that, so it was very comfortable.
Didn't ask for opinions?
No, thankfully, no, he didn't. But it was a very good show, I thought.
Right. Good on you, John, and look forward to working with you all this week as usual.
Thank you, Bert.
And please welcome our lead guests for this morning, Phillip Quast and Raelee Hill, stars of Pan. Now, you open a fortnight from yesterday, the 14th of May, a Sunday opening.
Yes.
Got to explain that you play two roles, don't you, Phillip?
It's George Darling. This is my daughter.
Yes.
And Captain Hook. And then she becomes my mother.
That's right. So it's a big show for you too, Raelee, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a monster.
You play Wendy.
Yes, I'm young Wendy.
Is this the biggest stage show that you've been in?
Easily. I was such a stage novice. I've never done anything this huge before, and the Capitol is she's gorgeous, but she's enormous. And I was kind of quite terrified, but I've got all these chaps along here to hold my hand. They've been so wonderful.
Over 30 people?
36, 38.
I think, yeah. Then
And a
the
lot of
creature actors.
backstage too.
Oh, it's huge technical. all the different departments.
Sounds absolutely wonderful. I mean, of course, it's no secret that it's had its bumps and grinds along the way in getting it to the theatre. But I suppose that what everyone should remember is that really the most important thing is, are the people going to enjoy that show? What is it like on stage? I know the producers have had problems. I thought there was a wonderful token by yourself, Raelee, to write to the press and explain after something was so misrepresented that the cast was depressed and they were down at heart and so forth. And you wrote to explain on behalf of the cast members.
Stuart Wagstaff and the rest of us, yes.
I mean, were you terribly upset by the fact that it was reported that you were down in terms of emotionally toward the show?
Sure, because if anything, we're a really, really tight bunch. I'm so in love with all these gorgeous people that I've met on this show. Everybody, it's true, when you have a hard time, everybody just goes, boom.
Yeah.
You all bond together.
And it came at a strange time, too, because we're right at that moment where you're getting into the theatre. So everyone just... to say that we were down wasn't quite correct, because it's the time when you have to work the hardest. So.
There's one quote that I read that I didn't quite understand, and that was that, with the financial problems that had occurred with the producers, obviously, and all of a sudden it was said, the show's going to open, but it might not run. I mean, what's there?
I don't know. I think most of us try to ignore it, really.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that's just rhetoric. You have to, because it is a vulnerable moment, and we've passed that. We were right on the cusp of moving into the theatre, so basically we just forgot about it and moved on and tried not to.
And did our job, Our jobs are huge enough.
Exactly.
As they are.
You made a very good point, actually, in stating sometimes it's very hard to sell a show in terms of people's expectation. I know when I was doing Beauty and the Beast, occasionally people would say, and how's the pantomime going?
Yeah.
And you think, please ring Mr. Kevin Jacobson and say, but that $15 million that you put into this production, they're calling it a pantomime. Yeah. And also, you're not a music, are you?
No, and the other thing about it, most big shows that are on here at the moment, they've already been running overseas. Beauty and the Beast, Chicago, Les Miserables, Phantom, everything has already been running.
Yeah.
Well before, so it has a momentum behind it.
Yeah.
It's hard with something like this, which is completely new, to actually, and we're building a momentum with it. Although everyone knows the story, which is
certainly.
We all know that Peter and Wendy fly, and that's really, most wonderful.
I was wondering, Wendy, this morning, could you do some flying for us?
Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
It's a little cramped in here, maybe.
The cast is wonderful. Apart from you people, of course, there's Troy Woodcroft.
Beautiful.
Isn't he? Absolutely wonderful. You've mentioned already, it's great to see our good chum Stuart in the show, and also Bill Kerr, an absolute legend in Australian theatre and show business generally.
And both of Stuart and Bill are full of wonderful stories.
Their green room, their dressing room bursts with laughter from morning
when you think
to night.
who they've worked with,
extraordinary.
when you think who Bill's worked with.
Yeah, exactly.
It's unbelievable.
Well, Tony Hancock to begin with, the absolute doyen of comedians. Has Stuart started making the tea for the rest of the cast? I don't think he will. He did this.
Tell us.
He did this during the run of Crazy for You, and eventually it built up. I believe there was a block of about 15 or 20 minutes in which he wasn't doing anything on stage. And it built from about 2 or 3 chums in the show to about 30 people arriving. So one day he just blew it totally and said, nick off. So the tea shop was closed down. Phillip, I have so many people who just extol your virtues. I've got a feeling this is the first time that we
shook hands for the first time about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and I mean, like everybody else who speaks to me, I'm such a fan of yours. The one thing I don't know is where it all began for you.
I'm the son of a turkey farmer, and basically, I don't know how I got to. That
Sounds
doesn't
like
make
a song
sense.
from Fiddler on the Roof, doesn't it? I'm the son of a turkey farmer.
Yes. And I did pluck turkey.
Yeah, it's just
I worked in the
abattoirs.
And
he was a turkey plucker, was he?
Yes.
Was he a good turkey plucker?
He was.
Yes, right. So did you turkey pluck it all yourself?
Yes, I did.
Did you really?
Yes, I worked in the abattoirs as a kid.
While you were turkey plucking, you sang a few ditties and...
No, I didn't. I just sort of fell into it. I went to university, and there was a director there called Colin George who ended up running the South Australian Theatre Company. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And in a way, acting was exactly the same as living on a farm. You lived in a sort of fantasy world. I spent hours sitting on a tractor at a very young age, just going round and round and round and round, and it just feels the same.
Right.
I know that doesn't probably make any sense whatsoever.
No, it does, but it really means that you are one of the theatrical people who really was associated with a number of turkeys.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm not the first person to have said
That's right, yes.
How long were you on the farm?
Well, I left when I was about 18, and I went to university in Armidale, and so I was going backwards and forwards, and then I went to Sydney and NIDA, but I lived a sort of quiet life, really. I mean, I still sort of live a low-profile life, I think.
You do? That's what I'd like to talk to you about, and also change it. How do you manage to have such a low
Well, I've got a family and kids, and, and also, I mean, I've met a lot of the sort of great people and worked with them, and it's just, the whole of this business is finding a balance. I want enough profile to give me enough power to do the jobs I want, and yet have enough freedom to, if you become too famous, you paint yourself into a corner. You're left with no choice to do. So, and to do risky things. So it's been nice to do a big musical, then go on off and work with the RSC for 2 years and disappear. But I regard it as a learning.
That's you.
Yes,
that's you.
I regard it as a learning process. Look, the whole business for me is learning. And this, for instance, and meeting new directors, working with people. And I love the director of this, John Bannis. It's just, it's been wonderful to it haunts me when I hear that.
Okay. I suppose the important thing for a director such as John in this particular gig is that he must remain an actor's director, but because if he wasn't an actor's director, everything could take over, couldn't it?
Yeah, and he's very aware of that. He's also a very experienced actor and writer, so that makes a difference as well.
You're a close friend of our musical director on The Sound of Music, aren't you?
Peter Casey.
You've done many
He's
shows.
fantastic, yeah.
He's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Peter actually helped me get through a bit of stage fright when I did Les Mis. I
Really?
suffered terribly from stage fright about 6 months into the run, and the first sort of in that year there, I was doing the Suicide on the Bridge one night, and I looked off in the wings, and there were a couple of girls doing untoward things, doing this, and I sort of looked and laughed, and then I sang a song, or I just kept singing, thinking, oh, that's pretty funny, and then I dried in the middle of it. And I sang something like, I went, and it sounded like it was out of Oklahoma. It really did. And everyone rushed into the wings, and I came off stage laughing, and then I was ill. I was physically ill in the wings, and I thought, oh, that's a bit of overreaction. I went on the next night, and I started to panic. It just came, and it got worse and worse and worse.
Oh, the sweats and the whole...
Yeah, and I started thinking, what line is next? Something had just been planted in my head, and I had to go... I went to the doctor, and they said, well... It got so bad, Peter said, go home, some nights and give your voice a rest. I didn't tell anyone.
Right.
And then I went to the doctor and they said, we'll put you on beta blockers. And I said, I can't do that. I can't go on beta blockers.
What are beta blockers?
Oh, yeah, no.
They stop your adrenal gland, sort of. So
panic. They stop your heart beating.
No, yeah. They stop you panicking.
Yeah.
And a lot of musicians take them. And I said, I can't do that.
Where do you get them?
And then I eventually went to an occupational therapist who dealt with stroke victims and gave me this advice. And she said, basically, it's like a virus gets into the computer. Something has been planted on your hard disk, and you've got to find a way of getting around it. And so I had to talk to Peter about it, and she said, the thing you have to do is to make sure you make eye contact on stage. Because one night I literally was singing Stars, that song, and I got so frightened, I carried a speech in my pocket saying, I'm terribly sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I can't, I started, no one knew. And then eventually I was singing Stars one night, I was backing right off, and I sort of got out of the spotlight, and Peter Casey was going, I don't know whether he remembers, going, come forward. And he came to my room afterwards, and I confessed, and eventually, after I went to this person, they said, you've got to make absolute eye contact all the time. So Peter, over the next couple of months, I'd be committing suicide, and he'd be looking up going, smiling at me, all the time. No matter what I did, I'd look down and he'd be looking up, smiling at me.
Raelee, this must give you a lot of confidence for opening night. But you're totally through it now on the whole
All
thing?
those drugs again.
Yeah, it's always there, I've got little exercises I do. But coffee was the thing. The first thing she said was, go off coffee.
Yeah.
So I try not to drink coffee or anything after 4 o'clock in the afternoon if I have an 8 o'clock show.
Alex Abatorial is on a brand of coffee, so we might leave it there. No, it's not. Has that story been told before? I've never read that.
Well, no. Well, I don't like to talk about it because you're actually bringing up things. It's worse in a musical because in a musical, as you know, if you do go, in your play, you can just take your time, you take your breath, you just talk, you can improvise, you can ad-lib.
Yeah.
But when there's an orchestra going
Dancing.
and you go, you can't, it's hard to improvise when you're singing
chained to a machine.
Yes.
Like that.
June Bronhill told me once that when she did The Sound of Music all those years ago, when she was the first Maria, and wonderful Maria, as is Lisa, in The Sound of Music, one night she was doing a song in the show, and she lost seemingly 2 minutes, didn't realise what she was, and didn't know where she'd been performance-wise and the whole thing, because her mind went away totally to something else. And I think it was, I don't know, I think she finished Do Re Mi. I think the last 16 bars were Climb Every Mountain or something, you know. And she said it had never happened to her before. And I think she didn't go through exactly the same sort of thing that you've explained this morning, but she really, it was a watershed type experience for.
Has it ever happened to you then?
What's that?
On stage?
What?
In a musical, like where you're.
Once in Beauty and the Beast, I lost a line in the song, but I just made it up.
Yeah.
I think I sang Here's Moira or something, you know. But I reckon the real secret is not the fact that it happens, but if you can hide it,
Sure.
you're halfway
Although it depends what show it's in. You know, if it's a comedy and it's a fun, you can do it. But something with the scary thing about Les Mis was I was right in the middle of a
really
very serious piece. But I used to go on singing. You know, I was told to go on and I'd stand in the wings, and I was told to do this exercise, not to think about, relax, not to think about what was coming on. So I used to sit in the wings on the very first entrance and sing, "We're in the money, we're in the money," and then I'd walk on, "Now bring me prisoner 24601." So to force myself not to, for that little virus to pop in.
It never crossed off. You didn't walk on singing, "We're in the money."
Yeah,
Look, I want to wish you, but that's a fascinating story, by the way, Philip. Thank you so much for telling us. And you know something? Not just people in theatre, but people in all walks of life would be inspired by what you've said this morning, because I think half the problem with most problems in life, emotional and especially in that area of emotions, is that you always feel that you're the only person in the whole world who's ever suffered with this problem. Terrific to see you both. Good luck. Big chukkers for Sunday week. It's been a delight to see you both. And I hope it's just the best run in Australian theatrical. Second best run in Australian theatrical. Thank you, Raelee. Bless you. Thank you, Philip. It's wonderful to meet you. And after the break on GMA, we go to the Logies. Angela Bishop with her special report on the Night of Nights for television. Last night was the night in Australian television. The Logies, of course. Angela Bishop was there for Good Morning Australia, and it's a delight to see her on post-Logie morning.
Hi.
How are we going? Well, of course, you wouldn't have been able to play up because you would have come straight back and organised all of this, I guess.
That's absolutely right. No,
No sleep?
I've got to thank Judy, my wonderful producer. She was the one who was doing a lot of hard work back at the office while I was keeping an eye on things at the Logies, keeping an eye on the gossip and stuff.
Terrific.
That was my job.
Let's start with the arrivals, because they seem to be almost taking over from the telecast.
They do, don't they? Because that's where everybody gets to let go a little bit. So we'll have a look. And black was very much, as a pink frog turns up, but black was very much the dominant colour this year, I have to say. But those who didn't wear it stood out. So here are all the colours, and it was fabulous. And Brooke looked beautiful. Look at her with Matthew.
Yeah, what a handsome man, too.
Oh, absolutely.
There's Joe Beth.
Joe Beth looked great. There were some very stylish awards this year, very stylish. Everybody except for that.
There was a demonstration of some kind?
There was a bit of biffo on the carpet, some anti-nuclear, anti-Jabaluka protesters, and actually a sound recorder from Channel 7 got a bit hurt.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
sorry to hear that.
just in the kerfuffle.
It's a lovely suit Gary's wearing.
It certainly is something. There's something there. It was velvet and it was
Yes,
purple.
like a pair of curtains.
And the great mystery was Fiona Horn's outfit, which you saw before, which was sort of just hanging in front, a bit of a scarf. And she's a witch, as you know, so everybody was thinking that the top was held on by magic.
There's the beautiful Ellen Petergar.
Yes, and Sandra, also gorgeous.
Look, beautiful. Look at that. Hey, another two
Very
for two.
glamorous.
Hello, guys. The interesting thing for me was watching the telecast that I asked Patty as soon as she came home, was it on the invitation? Most of the guys were wearing lounge suit. And,
That's right.
And I mean, it must have been some sort of concerted decision, was it, or whatever?
I think that's just very much the fashion, as the saying goes.
Thank you, girls. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Rebecca, for remembering me.
That's great. But yes, I think a lot of the designers are doing that. Look, I mean, Andrew hosting it was in a lounge suit.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yes,
yeah.
It's very much the hip and groovy thing now.
So you've seen many Logies. How would you rate last night's?
Last night's was excellent. It was a feel-good Logies. This was one of the funniest moments I have ever seen when the Pop-Tarts got...
Yeah, that's a lovely piece, isn't it?
There were some magic moments. There was a lot of of industry banter too going on, which was interesting.
On camera, you mean?
Yes, yeah.
I thought that might have been one of the downloads, because
Yes.
a couple of remarks were made, and I'm in the industry, and I didn't even know what the
No,
significance
I thought it was a bit in. Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
But of course, that's always the danger with the luggage. Repeat of last year's beautiful spot with James and Andrew.
I have to tell you, James Packer was the happiest man I've ever seen as he was heading off to the Channel 9 party. He had his beautiful wife, Jodie Mears, on one hand and Elle Macpherson on the other, and I thought, now there's a happy little media mogul.
He's died and gone to heaven.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seeing the telecast last night, Ruby, don't you just absolutely love her?
She was just magic.
Wonderful. Great to see
The R-rated stuff in the media room afterwards was absolutely brilliant, but unfortunately we can't bring that to you at this hour.
She's doing the show on Thursday at GMA. Is she good fun?
She is wonderful. Wonderful value.
Have you ever seen her piece with Liza Minnelli in her
I
series?
did see that.
I mean, it's embarrassing for Liza, but it is the best piece of television you could ever see.
All of her
She's
things, what she did with
wonderful.
Fergie and all the rest of it, so she was a very welcome addition.
The thing with Ruby, too, is that she's so individual. I mean, she's so talented, but she really... I've never seen anyone quite like her.
No, they've broken the mould, as the saying goes.
Wonderful to see Lisa win gold again.
Absolutely, and she was so gracious and humble about it. It was beautiful to watch. I mean,
and that's her, isn't it?
Yes, it is her. She doesn't try to do that. That's just the way she is, and she honestly couldn't believe it that she's now the first woman to have won 4 Logies.
Yeah,
and
there's been a bit of confusion actually in who's holding the record. I believed it was Graham. I think Graham has won 5 gold.
That's right. And
Lisa,
4 on the trot. 4 in a row?
No,
No? Okay.
I've won 4, and I think Ray Martin has won 4, hasn't he?
Yes, Ray
So
has.
Lisa certainly joins that second line, which is great. And there's every chance she can do it again, because of course I would imagine that almost any television producer in Australia would want her to star in their series.
Yes, I don't think she's going to be knocking on doors looking for work.
Did you talk to Andrew at all during the night?
I didn't get to. No, I was very close to him because I was right at the front and I could see him working. He looked very comfortable up there. He looked very at home and very happy.
And what was the rating around the room on his performance?
Just as good as last year. They just thought he'd done it again. He pulled it off again, and it was excellent. And
he's really changed direction for the Logies.
He has. There's no question. This was beautiful. The Channel 7 watermark. He has. There's no doubt about it. He's given it a new turn around a corner and given it a new place to go.
Think he'll do it again?
No.
He said that last year, though.
I know, but I don't think he will now. That's just my pick.
Right. His closing line was, thank you for allowing me to mess with the Logies for the last 2 years.
For a couple of years, that's right. I had a long chat with him when we were in New York doing Star Wars last year in the cab on the way over to the theatre about it all. And I think he's done it twice.
Last night was it?
Yeah,
right.
I think so. But it was certainly terrific.
You've gathered some folks for us to look and listen to?
Yes, at the party afterwards. This is while things were still fairly tidy at this stage, so we'll have a bit of a look.
Bud, 42nd Logie Awards. What did you think?
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful night. I think we're becoming tough competition for all the overseas awards and things now.
It's not that I get a big kick out of winning, because it's been 16 years now. Every year we hey Saturday win something, but there's some satisfaction in others losing.
I just think that I was very proud to be here, and I wish it was being shown overseas.
We're not going on to telly. I thought everyone went around to Bert's place for a big party after the show. If it wasn't Bert, it was Graham's place or Rosemary's place or Pete Smith's or Joff Allen or whatever. And when I got into showbiz, I realised that nothing to do with it. No one went anywhere.
Are you going to party hard tonight?
Well, a party and half for me at my age. I've got to be really careful because a hangover can get me for about a week.
Did you expect to do so well?
I don't know. I mean, you never expect the Spanish Inquisition, or you should never. I think it kind of puts a jinx on it if you do. So, we had to kind of be prepared, but, be prepared to not take anything home as well. But, we're delighted.
I discovered that you have a pierced nipple, and we'd like an explanation, please.
I can hang things off it.
Really?
Yeah,
like what?
Anything. Pass me the camera.
Tell me, did you honestly think you'd get it tonight?
No, I didn't.
And who did you think would?
I kind of, any of those people who were there, it's a popularity vote, so you never know which way it's going to swing, and that's what's lovely about the Logies.
Who knows? I'd say we'll just have a few iced waters and probably in bed by 11, I'd say.
All of us doing the same thing. Good night, Bert.
Good night.
And thank you, Angela. A great report on the Logies, the first for this new century of ours. And it was nice to have you on the spot. Sleepy buyers tonight, early to bed?
I've actually got to fly to Hong Kong tonight.
No.
Yes.
What are you doing there?
I'm going up to have a look at a sneak peek at some of the Hong Kong fashions coming down for Fashion Week next week in Sydney.
God,
so.
it's a hard gig you've got, isn't it, eh?
Yeah, I think I'll sleep well on the plane, though.
Please thank again, Angela Bishop. Now we say good morning to Marianne Van Borslow.
Thank you, Bert, and good morning. We have Shane Monopoly from Exclusive Photography with us today and a special guest who I'll introduce shortly. Let's first have a look and a listen to Shane's jingle.
When you look like a movie star, doesn't matter who you are, put your faith and trust in me, come see Exclusive Photography.
And, of course, Shane Monopoly, good morning.
Hi, how you going?
Very good. Now, this is Mavis Ellis. Hello, Mavis.
Hello, Marianne.
Now, you had a portrait done, perhaps we'll show it, Shane, by Exclusive Photography. And you, after you did this, you were moved to actually write a letter to Shane. Why did you do that?
I'm so very glad that you asked, Marianne. I was so impressed with the result of my portrait that I felt I just had to write to Shane and Val. And I want to thank them for asking me to be on the show today. And I'd just like to express my thanks and let everybody know, look, don't sit back at home and think, you know, you can't have it done. I mean, I'm 70 today, whether you're a baby in arms or a teenager or
70.
a young lady.
70, you look fantastic.
Thank you.
70, we made you look 40.
I'll be back.
That's actually a point you made in the letter when I read it before, that you were happy with the portrait too because you didn't look artificial or not you. You liked that you were still looking like yourself.
There's still a softness about the portrait that's been done. The individuality is still there of me. I can see myself there.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just that with the right makeup and the way the makeup artist, Thelma, she was remarkable. And also Chris, I was very impressed with Chris with the photography.
And it's nice to get your hair and makeup done and feel special for the day,
it makes you feel
isn't it?
good.
Yes,
especially
exactly.
if it's done correctly.
That's right. Well, let's have a look at some other before and after shots that Shane has done or his studios have done. This is, like we were saying, you can have all your children, your grandma, your baby, whatever, whoever photographed, can't you, Shane?
Exactly, and I think the thing is, what really sort of hits home, especially with Mavis, is Mavis 70 years of age, and a lot of ladies that are, you know, 70, 60, 80, they tend to think that, oh, no, I'm too old to have my portrait taken now, and that's really not the case, because Mavis is a mother, and her children are going to be so delighted with that portrait.
And grandmother,
you know,
that's right.
Grandmother, grandchildren, you know,
yes.
years to come, and even now, it's just something that is so precious. And these girls and ladies that we're looking at now are people that have just come in and, you know, by the time they're made up and photographed, the end result is absolutely special.
Well, we've seen that many times, and you always have a special offer when you come in on the show.
We have a great special offer, and we're going to do it again today. Normally it's $170, which is for the makeup artist, the photography. It's a 2-hour session, glass of champagne and a good fun time. But today, if ladies ring, very quick, $25 for the first 50 people who get on the phone, and they're probably ringing right now, so keep trying. 50 people, $25, normally $170, and they can have the same service and feel great about it.
And of course this can be men as well.
Exactly.
We're not just limiting it to women. It's 1-800-800-810.